Now, if we look at the heart, this is the main pumping area. This is the ventricle. And then if I lift it up a little bit, you can see these squishy areas right here. That's the atrium. Okay? And if I pull this back a little bit, do you see this kind of thin triangular tissue right there?
Yeah.
Okay, that's called the sinus venosus. Now, what we need to do is kind of review a little bit of the circulation. Along the top of the animal, then it's not very conspicuous here, there is another vessel. You can see that I'm pushing fluid through it. There's another one on the other side of the dorsal aorta, which is the red. These are the cardinal veins. Now, they get names like anterior, posterior cardinal veins. I'm not going to worry too much about that. But as the cardinal veins come forward, they're going to empty into this large sac. There's one on either side. Okay, this big sac here. Doesn't look like it would be anything that related to the circulatory system, but it is. This is where the deoxygenated blood from the entire rear of the animal collects in here. These are called the anterior cardinal sinuses, or cardinal sinus.
Does it blow up, inflate, or is it just not?
Well, it inflates with blood. Okay, so it's a large sac. Then there's another one on the other side, right there. Okay. All right, so you have two of these vessels coming into each of these sacs, and then two little vessels, a pair on each side, going into the sinus venosus. So that's the way it circulates. That's the dumping ground right there for deoxygenated blood. So just to review, cardinal veins into the cardinal sinuses, into the sinus venosus. The sinus venosus then goes into the atrium. The atrium into the ventricle. Now, remember I talked about that specialized little organ that is found in the amphibians, particularly the shark. And that's this little area right here. And I'm going to kind of lift it up a bit in a true kind of dissection way. It's this region right here, right after the ventricle. And it's cone-shaped. If I can pry this apart a little better.
I can't see. I just can't see it. That poor boy is just getting worked.
Okay, so here's the conus arteriosus from here to here. All right, I'll get the dissecting needle under it, and you can see it. Okay.
Oh, so it branches
Right
off
there.
the
Yeah,
ventricle.
comes off the ventricle, and conus, cone. But it's not a cone at its widest point at the ventricle, it's at its narrowest point, and then it widens out. Now if we follow that along, and this is becoming more difficult here, I'm going to have to, I think, make some more incisions. This is a big male, and consequently there's a lot of flesh in there. I might have to do this on another organism, but anyway, from the conus arteriosus comes another tube, which is called the ventral aorta. Okay? Now, the ventral aorta is going to go forward, and then there's going to be blood vessels that come from that ventral aorta, and I'll show you one of them at least, that go up to the gills. Then, in the gills, oxygenation occurs. Then, from the gills come, likewise, blood vessels that are taking oxygenated blood, and they all come back and join the dorsal aorta. Okay? So it's sort of like a manifold, right? Vessels that come up to the gills, vessels that collect the oxygenated material from the gills and take it down the dorsal aorta. I'll draw it on the board for you so that you'll be able to see it.
So
The vessels, yes.
So it doesn't go back to the heart, like as in our
No,
to the body.
no. From the gills outward. And from the ventral aorta, and this will be better shown on another specimen. But I don't know, some of you might be able to see, but there's a little blood vessel that's coming from the ventral aorta. Take this open a little bit more, I guess. What I'm going to do at this point